Hi everyone, Sane Man here. This video is brought to you by a donation from Jack, and here's what he has to say. Hey Sandman, I've been digesting your gourmet red pill meals for the last 6 months, and I absolutely love your work. I would like your views on the attached article from the New Zealand Herald about Wonder Woman being dumped as a special ambassador to the United Nations. Cheers. Well, Jack, thanks for your donation as well as your topic. The link you sent me is in the description as well. What we are now seeing is feminism eating itself. Skinny, attractive women are now oppressive because men like them. Anything that a man likes about a woman is now considered oppressive as well. If the majority of men like quiet and relatively submissive women, then women need to be the biggest bitches possible. We're living in this bizarre world where women are adopting the traits that men don't want as a shit test to get us to basically put them in their place. Petitioning the United Nations to eliminate Wonder Woman as the special ambassador is just the beginning. Men like attractive women in skimpy bikinis, so one day we're going to see feminists start marching up and down the beaches like beached whales. Many of them are actually going to start to shame women with good bodies exposing their flesh. If you want to see what a society looks like where the men failed the shit test and became too thirsty for a vagina, then simply look at many Muslim countries, where women are covered from head to toe, in both fabric and fat. That's where we're heading if we're not careful. Wonder Woman was kicked out of the United Nations only 2 months after Linda Carter and Gal Gadot showed up to accept the ambassadorship. The critics of Wonder Woman are saying that there are real women out there fighting sexual exploitation and probably the non-existent rape culture, and that there should actually be a real woman there instead of a made-up character that men like. According to the article you sent me, this is the reason why Wonder Woman was thrown out, and I quote, "An online petition started by UN staffers and signed by more than 44,000 people asked the Secretary General to reconsider the appointment, saying the message to the UN was sending to the world with this appointment was extremely disappointing." And during the October 21st ceremonies at the United Nations, many staffers silently turned their backs to the stage, some of them with their fists in the air. The Wonder Woman appointment came after many women were dismayed about another man, Antonio Guterres, the former Prime Minister of Portugal, as he was chosen to be the next Secretary General, even though more than half the candidates were women. Several critics took issue with Wonder Woman's skimpy outfit, arguing that the world might not embrace a scantily clad character in a thigh-bearing bodysuit with an American flag motif and knee-high boots, unquote. So there you have it, folks. Even the staff members at the United Nations didn't like the appointment of Wonder Woman. So I'm guessing that the people that appointed her at the United Nations probably didn't want their own staff members to act in a passive-aggressive way and possibly sabotage the internal dealings at the UN. So that was probably the real reason they took her out. Back in 2009, Tinkerbell was the honorary ambassador, and I'm sure that wouldn't have been acceptable either in today's world. The honorary ambassadorship is given to a fictional character and not real people. And I'm sure that out there somewhere feminists are scouring the internet looking for the fattest and ugliest female cartoon character they can find, and she probably has to be a minority too. If Winnie the Pooh was female, she would have made a perfect UN ambassador. Maybe they can bring in Tranny the Pooh, the fudge-packing bear with a pot full of honey to become the next UN ambassador. But it's more likely that they're just going to ask someone like Anita Sarkeesian, with her large derriere extraordinaire, to pick a character that's appropriate in this modern age of political correctness. What I find amusing is that this petition didn't come from outside the United Nations, but it actually came from within the staff members themselves. We are heading into a dark age when the majority of companies out there are hiring mostly women in their admin staff, management, and frontline staff roles. And if they start creating petitions within their own companies for behaviors that they don't like from their CEO or higher-ups, then the employees or inmates have actually effectively taken over the asylum, so to speak. A CNN article actually had this to say, and I quote, "On their petition website they wrote, although the original creators may have intended Wonder Woman to represent a strong and independent warrior woman with a feminist message, the reality is that the character's current iteration is that of a large-breasted, white woman of impossible proportions, scantily clad in a shimmery, thigh-bearing bodysuit with an American flag motif and knee-high boots, the epitome of a pin-up girl." The petition had attracted more than 44,000 supporters by Tuesday when the announcement was made that Wonder Woman's role would come to an end, unquote. So that statement says it all because this signals to the world that an independent warrior woman was considered a feminist once upon a time, but no longer. All of the things they mentioned to disqualify her include large breasts, she's white with impossible proportions, and scantily clad in a sexualized way. She's effectively a pin-up girl. This contradicts with what feminists are saying. They march in slut walks with their oversized boobs, and most of the women are also white and scantily clad. This is a complete hypocrisy, because how does Wonder Woman have impossible proportions? I can understand that if it were Barbie, but Wonder Woman in the comic books looks very similar to the way that she looks in the movies as well as television shows. If anything, Linda Carter was actually skinnier than the comic book version of Wonder Woman. But like I said, this is all about wiping away the body type from popular culture that men find attractive, and trying to replace it with a body image that is more representative of overweight average women in our society. They want to be accepted and seen as the epitome of beauty, and they're trying to shatter what they call the beauty myth. There's also obviously the flavor of anti-Americanism by selecting Wonder Woman. The UN is supposed to be a global organization, yet the rest of the world doesn't seem to have a strong fictional female character to add to their list of potential nominees. There's also the obvious fact that the Wonder Woman film is coming out in June 2017. So this ambassadorship could have actually been bought and paid for under the table by Warner Brothers Pictures. After all, it amounts to free advertising all over the world for their up-and-coming film. Maybe the staffers at the United Nations saw the Warner Brothers executives communicating with some of the higher-up people at the UN to get this ambassadorship pushed through, and maybe that's what this is all really about. But I don't think we'll ever know the truth. But if it's anti-American sentiment that drove the staffers to revolt, that is a political motivation and shouldn't be acceptable. According to the Change.org petition, which is the second link in the description, the argument against Wonder Woman is that women don't need another sex object as a role model forever trapped as a 25-year-old woman. I guess the United Nations isn't supposed to celebrate women for their youth, beauty, and large breasts. So what are they supposed to celebrate women for? Their double chins, fupas, and bitchy attitude. Wouldn't it make more sense to promote women's fertility? The problem with that is that most women want careers nowadays, and they don't really want families as much as they used to. They go on to say that they want a real woman that can get things done like Angelina Jolie. A real woman that keeps Brad Pitt away from his own kids, and a real woman that's had her breasts and other reproductive organs removed. They point to a neutered ex-wife as the ideal woman. The petition also mentions that a woman wasn't selected to be the United Nations Secretary General, so maybe this Change.org petition is a form of revenge against the fact that a woman wasn't selected. The real position going to a man, while the woman gets insulted because the honorary position goes to a hot female cartoon character. But so what if Wonder Woman is a paid advertisement for the United Nations? The UN owes the city of New York a boatload of money. Maybe they should have actually taken the money and paid off their fair share instead of mooching off a great American city. If you're going to be anti-American, then don't borrow money from Americans to fund your programs while simultaneously spitting in their faces. Also, the reason I named this video Fat Wonder Woman is because if Wonder Woman was overweight, then no one in the United Nations would have criticized the campaign and she would have remained the honorary ambassador. If I know one thing about women, it's that they don't like to criticize something if it creates trouble for them. If a woman criticizes an overweight woman, then she is the one that's actually turned into the villain, and the fat woman is the victim. Women prefer to be the victims, and if they can't be perceived as victims, then they shut up and don't say anything. If you want to silence a woman, get everyone to watch her actions and criticize her. If Wonder Woman was played by a 200-pound woman in the movies, then there would have never been a campaign attacking her. A friend of mine runs a medium-sized business, and I told him to put a fat woman in the returns department because people are less likely to make life tough for an overweight woman. That's exactly what happened. All of a sudden, returns for the products in his medium-sized art supply store went down to roughly 20%. I told him that when women feel bad for another woman, they don't want to cause trouble for her because she can say all kinds of nasty things about them, and people are more willing to believe the poor, old, helpless victim. But getting back to Wonder Woman, if she's not socially acceptable anymore by society at large, and not just the United Nations, then what's the ideal female hero at this point? Big Bertha makes the perfect female superhero. She's the only overweight woman with superpowers in the comic books, and ironically, she's not even overweight. She has an alter ego named Ashley Crawford, and Ashley is a 120-pound model. But when Ashley uses her superpowers as a member of the Great Lake Avengers, that's when she blimps up to 750 pounds of pure and powerful. Once she stops using her superpowers, that's when she goes back to normal size. That way, no one suspects that Ashley is actually Big Bertha. If they had made that filmed instead of Ghostbusters to satiate the appetites of women, then that would have been the perfect film, Big Bertha. Hot model by day, triggered land whale by night. This land whale not only swims through the Great Lakes of North America, but she fights evil men that are part of the patriarchy, 1 pound at a time. There's also another hero called Fat Mama, and she was part of Stanley's reality television show called Who Wants to Be a Superhero? Her catchphrase was, apparently, saving the world 1 donut at a time. She got second place in that particular show, and she does Comic-Con appearances and makes money doing that. I think we should petition the UN to make Big Bertha the honorary ambassador to the United Nations. She's perfect because every morbidly obese woman out there wants to feel like she's a model and weighs only 120 pounds. The best and funniest thing I found about Big Bertha is this particular comic strip where she's being fat-shamed right in the pussy after saving this lady's child. I guess that's just Big Bertha, the ample Amazon for you. She would make a perfect role model for all the social justice warriors out there, and the women would accept her. And it also looks like she can take a joke from Deadpool as well. Big Bertha would probably be every single feminist's wet dream. A fat victim crime fighter at night, and a woman that all the other women are jealous of by day when she's a model. She would be with any man that she wanted as a model, but also play the victim card when she's 750 pounds. I'm sure you guys can all see the irony in that. Anyways, that's all I've got to say for today. If Wonder Woman was a hog beast, then no one would actually have criticized her because that would have been considered fat-shaming. Thanks again, Jack, for your donation as well as your topic. Don't forget to check out the MGTOW mystery link and also like this video. As for everyone else out there, please follow me on Twitter or like me on Facebook to get tomorrow's video today. Thanks for taking your daily dose of red pills. And remember, a red pill a day keeps the obese women away. So enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.